Good afternoon, and thank you for allowing us to share our story of our beautiful daughter, Kelly. My name is Michelle, and my husband, Ron, is beside me, and we are here today as grieving parents. At 28 years old, Kelly had built a full and beautiful life. She was a daughter, a sister, an aunt, a granddaughter, a fiancée, and a friend to many. She and her fiancé, Travis, were planning their dream wedding for this June. We were supposed to watch her walk down the aisle. On January 15th, our world stopped. Kelly was killed that day. We were on our way to meet her to prepare for her grandfather's funeral, who had passed just 48 hours earlier. Her fiancé, Travis, and I got the call from the RCMP asking us to meet them. As we drove there, I called my husband and our son Michael. When we arrived, the RCMP told us the complete unthinkable, that our daughter was gone. Over the next few days, we learned that the man who killed her had a warrant for his arrest issued at the time of the incident. He had breached bail conditions for previous crimes involving drugs and theft. That morning, he had stolen a truck, driven it towards Port-au-Prairie, and caused a crash that killed my daughter. After the collision, he kicked out the truck's window and fled on foot. When he was caught, he had a large amount of methamphetamine in his system. He was taken into custody, appeared before a judge, and unbelievably was later granted bail, again. Despite killing our daughter while out on a warrant, the system decided to give him yet another chance. We attended the bail hearing along with our MLA and Mayor of Port-au-Prairie and family members. The judge ruled that he could be released to a behavioral health unit in Winnipeg, Manitoba, once a bed became available. He was ordered not to drive, not to use drugs, and to follow the law. When the spot became available, he was transferred to that facility. We believe within hours he had escaped again. To this day, we do not know how long he was in that facility. When we found this out, my stomach sank with the same sick feeling I had the day Kelly was killed. My greatest fear was that he would hurt someone else or flee. And why wouldn't he? That behavior was entirely predictable. The judge had assured us that if he breached bail again, a warrant would be issued immediately. But there was already a warrant out for his arrest when he killed my daughter. What good are these reassurances? They mean nothing. This man was granted bail 3 times in 2 weeks before Christmas 2024. On New Year's Eve, he breached his conditions again, and a warrant was issued. In 14 days before he killed my daughter, he stood before a judge 3 times. 3 times he was given bail. 3 times he walked away. Why does someone who shows no respect for the law, the police, the judges, or for society keep getting another chance? We hear a lot these days about rights, constitutional rights, individual rights, the rights of the accused. But what about our rights? What we do know is that what we're doing right now is not working, and we need change. The definition of insanity is to continue to do the same things in the same manner, repeatedly, and expect a different outcome. In my view, this is where we are at in the criminal justice system. What about Kelly's right to safety? What about our right to live in a country where the laws protect the innocent, contributing people to our society? Who's defending those rights when repeated offenders are released again and again, only to reoffend, sometimes within hours? Our communities are in crisis. Our justice system is broken. And somewhere along the way, we've started to accept this as normal. It's not normal, and it's not acceptable. If you hear anything from me today, hear this. The cost of these failures is measured in lives, in grief, in trauma, and in fear of repeated criminals on our streets. As a mother, as a Canadian, I expect better from my government. I expect that you will fix a system that keeps putting dangerous people back on our streets. We need you all to do the hard work, fix our broken system. It's your job, and it's what we expect. Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Ms. Best. Mr. Best, do you want to, we have a minute or so, perhaps a little more if you want to say a few words.
No, I think that we can cover it in the questions that we take. I think that's fine. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Mr. Brock now. 6 minutes.
Thank you, Chair, and welcome to all of our witnesses. Thank you for participating. To Mr. and Mrs. Best, I am heartbroken, I am angry, and I am disgusted that I was once a member of a justice system that has failed you so miserably. I guess to really emphasize that point, every time that offender who took your daughter's life appeared in front of a judge and was granted bail, he promised to follow those conditions. And if he was released with a surety, that surety also promised that he would abide by those conditions. These are false promises that are given every single day in this country, and the justice system accepts it at face value, will often sometimes give warnings. Should you breach these conditions, you ought not to expect to be released a second time or a third time or a fourth time. And history and example after example shows us that these are promises that are not fulfilled and consequences not given to offenders. So if you could say to the government, what is the most important thing to you as survivors of a loss such as what you've suffered? What would be the most important thing that you could tell this committee when we write our report to the House?
It would be nice to have the criminals. It would be nice to have the criminals become accountable, no different than we're accountable as members of society. We sat in on a bail hearing, and the accused sat in a small cubicle in the detention facility, and it was like, geez, are we done yet? Like he's not engaged, he's not listening, he does not care. The bail hearing had to be extended by an apology of the justice because the defense lawyer, for 40 minutes, I'm not sure if he took 3 breaths, would not stop talking. As a result, we had to go back 3 days later, and then he was provided bail. Again, there's no motion, there's nothing, there's no feeling, and it's a slap in the face to the government that passed these features that we're living with today. It's a slap in the face to the police force that have to deal with these people.
He showed no emotion.
None.
He showed no care because he knew he was getting out. That's what this Liberal government's failed justice policies for the last 10 years have instilled within the criminal element in this country. It has emboldened criminals to do exactly what they are doing and terrorizing communities. Thank you for that. To the officers, both of you spoke about first steps. This was a good first step in the government introducing Bill C-14, but you would both acknowledge that while it talks about making it tougher for individuals to obtain bail, the same language that they used with the disastrous rollout of Bill C-48 by expanding the list of reverse onus charges, when you had members of the government, including the Prime Minister of the day and the former Justice Minister, proudly stating, "We delivered bail reform. These repeat violent criminals are going to be detained." We know that was a false promise, a false declaration, because we found ourselves right where we are right now with catch and release. Will you both agree with me that there is not a pathway in Bill C-14 for automatic detention? Yes or no?
I would agree with you, yes.
Right. It still vests discretion for judges in bail matters, particularly when you're dealing with violent repeat offenders, to still be granted bail. And the bill clearly states that when a justice makes a decision to release, it has to be on the least onerous conditions. I want to talk about that because that's one thing that we're not talking about in this committee, which is the sufficiency and the degree by which conditions need to be established. I have heard horror stories across this country of judges refusing to list conditions because it's an invitation to breach, or they're not addressing conditions reflective of the crime and the impact to the community or the victims, or they're making a joke of the promise to pay by requiring offenders to pay 5 cents. This is what's happening in downtown Toronto as we speak. Do you think that type of activism by our judges is appropriate to deal with community and victim safety?
Yeah, I think there's lots of work that we can still do around sureties. I think, in the Antic decision, it said that a pledge for a deposit performs the same function as actually giving a deposit. Quite frankly, that's nonsense.
Do you agree with that?
No, it's nonsense. And so, we need to do more work around sureties. We need to ensure that some sort of deposit is received by the court. We need to ensure that we're doing proper checks on sureties, that we don't have these sort of career sureties showing up repeat time and time again, vouching for someone who's been accused of an offense, that they're going to ensure that they abide by their conditions, knowing that they've put a pledge for a deposit, knowing that they're never going to have to pay that. It's never going to be collected.
Thank you, Mr. Baxter. Ms. Latanzi.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Best, Michelle, Ron. I want to thank you for your courage in coming here today and sharing your story with such incredible composure, given the circumstances, and for your relentless advocacy and efforts to try to change Canada's bail system in the aftermath of the terrible tragedy that your family faced in honor of Kelly, but with a focus on ensuring that other families don't face the same devastation that yours had to. I know Kelly a little bit, and she was a wonderful human being with an incredibly bright future ahead of her, and she did not deserve to have her life taken by a man who should have been behind bars. I am so sorry for the loss that your entire family has faced, for the loss of Travis, her fiance, for all of those that knew and loved her, and frankly our entire community, my hometown of Portage, which was badly shaken when the news came out, which turned into pure disgust when the circumstances of how this tragedy came about. Kelly faced the consequences of political decisions that put the rights of criminals above the rights of everyone else. Her death should not have happened. Now, the individual who killed your daughter was given bail 3 times within 2 weeks prior to this tragedy. How does it make you feel to realize that the system as it currently is set up seems far more concerned with his rights than the safety of your daughters?
It's a feeling of like you just feel defeated because there's so many things that go through your head when you ask a question like that. Just the fact that there's just no, like they just simply don't, the suspect just simply doesn't care about society. He was released on his bail 9 months after spending time in prison, September 5th. September 6th, he absconded. September 7th, he posted on his social media, fresh out of PWEZY, no regard for the family, nothing. Monday, we discovered from Victim Services that he was released on Friday and left within 6 or 7 hours. So 4 days after we discovered that, Tuesday, we were at a press conference, and at 3 o'clock that afternoon, 4 to 5 days after he was released and absconded, a warrant for his arrest was issued, and he was picked up, I think, within 20 minutes. So Whether or not that answers your questions, when those types of questions come up, those are the things, it just leaves you bewildered how it can happen.
It goes to show that our police are doing their level best, and thank you all for the work that they do. Now, you've lived through the worst imaginable outcome of a failed system. If you could speak directly to the lawmakers that have defended for years the status quo of this system, what would you say to them?
To speak to what you hear about rehabilitation, the importance of rehabilitation, and they need help, and it's, in this case, and I think in most cases, if it's a justice or a judge that's giving this person bail, not only you're not doing the family any favors, but you're not doing the individuals any favors. They just can't, if you let that individual out, they just don't understand it, and they're going to go and do exactly what they were arrested for previously. And
I think my comment would be, we need change. We're continuing to do the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result from people who are not able to make different decisions. And by just releasing them back into our communities, we're giving them the go-ahead to continue their behavior. This is not something we talk about for initial offenses. This is repeat. And I think that that's a key word. And if I could speak directly to them, please make these changes.
Thank you. And just quickly, what message does it send to victims' families when someone who repeatedly breaches these conditions is yet given another chance by a judge?
It gives the message that
There's a button right in front of you, Michelle.
Okay.
Perfect. You'll see a red thing go on.
we want them, we felt at a loss, we felt discouraged, we felt that his immediate needs were being put over the situation that our family has been put in. She's a huge loss, not only to our community, as Brandon mentioned, but to our family. She was a pillar in our family, and it didn't matter. And no one asked us the question, and no one considered his previous behaviors either. When you talk about the fact that previous drug use should be mentioned in bail, there was no mention of his previous history. His defense lawyer made us think that he had previously been one of Sentis helpers. So it's important that the accused have a chance to speak and that the judge have a chance to make some better assumptions based on history.
Thank you. Thank you both.